All right, people. I must be a cotton-headed nitty-muggins because I think I realized why I could not recreate that painting. I think I know what I did wrong. And yeah, today we're going to try to recreate it again. But we're going to try a few different things. And I probably should have had this already open with, maybe a knife or something. But again, I'm a cotton-headed nitty-muggins for all of you elf fans. So what we're going to do is, I was thinking about the painting the other day, and I was looking at it and I was comparing it to the one I did in the previous video where I attempted to recreate it. And I was just kind of looking at it for a while, looking at the one I made and then looking at this one, and I think I realized how I did this. Now, again, we're going to try to recreate it, but can't guarantee that it's going to turn out. Now, two things to note about this. First off is that this painting has three distinct layers, right? You can tell that there's a bottom black layer and then a white middle layer and then the red top layer, which we talked about in the other video. However, if you notice in the video where I tried to recreate this painting, it pulled the colors. So it ended up pulling some of those colors and making almost like a grayish color with the black and the white, and then the red layer on top of that. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go ahead and create those layers, but we're going to let them dry. Now, patience is a virtue, but it's not one that I tend to have. And I tend to move into the layers before they have a chance to dry. Now, admittedly, this is for effect, so it is on purpose. However, if you ever look at say a Gerard Richter type painting where he does these scraped paintings with the layers, he tends to use oil. Oil tends to kind of cover itself really well, and oil doesn't dry as fast as acrylic. I tend to use acrylic, so I actually may use oil in the future just to try it out. Now, coming back to our current project, with this painting, you can see that there's the three distinct layers, and these layers really don't mix. You can see the distinct colors on each one. What this tells me is that I probably let those layers dry before I moved into the next color. So that is what we're going to be doing today. I'm going to learn some patience, and we're going to do a color. We're going to wait for it to dry. I will probably force it to dry with a heat gun, and then we'll move into the next one. Here's the other aspect. In the last video that I did, I used my giant plexiglass custom scraper. Actually, it's this one right here. I love this thing, and it looks so cool. Anyway, I used this plastic scraper. Now, this is my most common tool for doing scrape paintings. But I was thinking about it, and I don't think I used the scraper when I made that particular painting over there. I think what I used was this scraper right here. This is actually for screen printing. And so this is a screen printing scraper, basically. And so that's what this is for. Now, you can find these on Amazon. I'm not recommending you use them. I've had mixed results with them. This, this like rubber or whatever it is, plexi, I don't know, plastic, rubber, silicone, whatever it is very tough, and it's hard to get it to bend. And it's not supposed to, right? You're supposed to push it straight down and pull it back. And we're going to be doing that. But that being said, it's difficult to make scrape paintings with because of that. But we're going to try it. Because one advantage to using this and really kind of pushing the paint in is that it really presses it into the surface. It also helps it dry because it really pulls out that paint and kind of makes it as thin as possible. So we're going to try that. So that's what we're up to today. I'm going to set this up, and we're going to move this over to here. I may have to move you guys with it a little bit. Maybe just pivot you guys a little bit. There we go. So let's go ahead and get our paint ready. Again, using this almost the same colors. So we're going to be doing the same thing, basically the same layers, black on the bottom, white on top, and then red as the final layer. However, my red that I was using that I love, which is called Hot Jazz, is actually I would dried out, so I don't have that available, unfortunately. It is literally my favorite, one of my favorite colors, this Hot Jazz kind of bright red color. It's a really nice color, but we're gonna have to substitute today. It is what it is. So let's get our white stirred up nicely here, and you can see I'm kind of running out of paint. Time to hit the paint store, I guess, even though I have like all of these other paints over here. But I tend to use black and white the most. So, all right, there's that, and then we'll pop our little red one off. I don't know where my can opener went, so just be resourceful here. Pop this bad boy. I love that cracking sound. All right, get that out of there and give it a good stir, and then we will start. So we're actually just going to put the black paint on, and we're going to use a sponge to cover the surface of the canvas, because we don't really need to scrape the bottom layer because we want the canvas covered. So I'll set that bad boy aside and we're good to go. So we're going to start with our black, and we are going to kind of put enough on here that we know that the bottom layer is covered. And I'll just do a little bit more. That's good. And there you go. That's the painting. That is the definition of modern art. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video. Kidding. But, you know, I'm sure paintings like this have sold. All right, so we are going to just use, I'm just using just a typical house sponge. I found that it actually helps cover the surface really quickly and easily. So if you're just trying to kind of do a toned background, it actually works really well, especially for gloss enamel because it's so liquid. So we are going to kind of just work this paint in. And I'm gonna kind of pat it down. Actually, I'm gonna put just a little bit more on here because you can, it's hard to see probably from where you guys are, but it's a little thin. So we're just gonna add a little bit more. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna kind of go over it a couple times, just to kind of fill it in as much as possible, the edges. Okay, so we've got a nice toned background. We're gonna soak our little sponge here. You can actually do some pretty interesting art with these sponges too. I saw a picture of a painting that I thought was pretty cool, and it was almost like it was kind of like a tone, so a gradient. So it was like a light blue down to a dark blue, and then over that they had like white and blue, like a slash, and it looked like they probably used something like a large sponge, and then it had like bits of gold in it, and it actually looked pretty cool. So I don't know, maybe we'll do something like that. I make no guarantees. Okay, so we've got this. Now we need this to dry so that we don't pull up any of that color. Remember, what we're trying to do here is something that I'm not really known for doing. We don't want these colors to mix, and we could just start scraping on top of that, but we want those distinct colors. So I'm gonna go ahead and bust out the heat gun. I think it's plugged in. This under my easel and under the mess that I have here, and we're going to dry this bad boy. I'm going to move that aside, and give me 1 second here. Yeah, that's fine. All right, give me a second. So one thing I've learned with the heat gun is that you have to run it longer than you think you do, because I've like ran it for like a minute or so and it looked dry, and then I went to scrape it or do whatever the painting was, and then it would like still be wet underneath. So I'm really hoping it's dry all the way, but we're gonna run with it. So we're gonna move on and we're gonna rotate it slightly here, and now we are going to put our white paint on. We're gonna move this bad boy. And we'll go ahead and set this aside too. And we are going to put our white on here. Now we're going to put on the top edge and we're going to scrape down. So just like that. And then probably just kind of go back and forth here. All right. So I'm hoping that's enough paint. And here we go. So I am going to push down on this pretty hard, but not so hard that it, pulls all the paint off. Okay, that's a pretty cool effect. Now, one thing with the silk screen scrapers, actually, you can see that a little bit of the black did come off there. It actually looks pretty cool, but we're going to wipe it off because we don't want to mix it back in. I'm actually going to run it again, and I'm just going to kind of pull it straight back. Okay, and I think I'm going to go ahead and maybe pull it one more time. And really just kind of make use of the white. There we go. Okay, so I had to tilt it a little bit. Instead of going straight down, I kind of used the corner, and there we go. So now it looks like a mess, right? It looks kind of noisy, not really like anything, but that's okay. We're gonna go ahead and leave it, and we're gonna we're going to dry it again. So I'm gonna get the heat gun out, and we're gonna hit it again. Okay, so I think it's dry. That layer was pretty thin, so I don't think it's gonna take as long. All right, so now we're going to move into phase 3, the final phase. The final phase. Doo-doo-doo-doo. All right. So we will do our red now, and we're going to do a decent amount here on the red because the white was very thin. I actually don't think it was quite enough. So we're going to do a little bit of a thicker bead here with the red to really kind of make sure that we get it all. And now we will kind of move into it. I'm going to wipe this scraper off real quick, make sure that there's no wet paint, and we will kind of tilt it. Right, I'm going to push some of that paint to the edge and then bring it straight back. Okay. So I'm going to go a little slower on this one. I kind of want the red to really cover the surface here. Now that has a very cool distorted look, but I want a little bit more paint on there. I actually pulled off a ton of paint right here on the bottom, so I think I pulled too much off. So I'm gonna go ahead and run over it again, and we're gonna try tilting it instead of going straight down and see if that pulls more of the paint. So it feels like when I tilt it, I pull more of the paint. When I go straight down, it actually doesn't pull it all the way. So it's kind of like half of one, a dozen of the other. Yeah, see, when I go straight down, it stops here, but if I tilt it, then it pulls it really thin. Okay, I love that. So I'm going to stop before I ruin it. I'm going to set this aside. Now, is it perfect? Is it exact? No, but I am happy with it, which is very rare. I usually hate most of my paintings. So I'm going to pull this over. We're going to kind of look at the two here. So this was the original, and that is the final project. Now, obviously, the first one is a lot darker. I realize now that there was a lot less white on there. I think I probably kind of did what I did on this one, where I had like a thin line and I just really brought it, like really kind of raked it down. So there wasn't a lot of white in the middle. So it's a lot darker, a little more moodier. But that being said, this one actually turned out pretty cool. And I actually like it. Even the distortion on it is very cool. So, I mean, you can see the layers. Even in this one, there's quite a bit more white. However, you can see the separation of the layers, and there's a lot of distortion here when you look at it, where it's just these very thin layers. So ultimately, I wouldn't say it was an exact recreation, because obviously this one is still darker. However, I'm actually really happy with it, and I would say that I kind of figured it out, and that actually makes me really happy, because it's a different type of painting to do. Still scraped, but instead of those colors mixing, you have these just very thin, distinct layers. So what I'm going to do here is I'll take my gloves off, and I'm going to show you guys an overhead comparison here. And I'm going to take a picture just for the thumbnail. Get over here. So that is the final piece. And yeah, so again, this is the original. Got some lines, a little bit of white, a lot of black showing. This one has more white than black showing, but it still has, I actually like the distortion on this one more, because you see almost these very thin, just super thin, almost like a plaid, with these almost cross hatchings, or these little, I don't know, crosses. I don't know what you would call them. Anyways, that's it, guys. I'm really super excited on how this turned out. And I actually might be doing more of these in the future, because now that we have an idea of how to make them, it just excites me to no end to make a new kind of scrape painting. And that's it. Like I said, this silk screen scraper I actually got from Amazon. There is an affiliate link down below if you want to use that. If not, that's totally fine. But it came in a pack of 4, so just as a heads up. But I think that's it. So overall happy, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take care. God bless. See you then. Bye, guys.